7-8. Sufficient conditions for parallelograms. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral that has one pair of sides that are both parallel and congruent. This can be seen in the example above. The figure has at least one pair of sides that are parallel and congruent. However, parallelograms have many sufficient conditions, which are known as the sufficient conditions for a parallelogram theorem. This theorem is made up of 4 parts to help us know if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Part A of this theorem is one pair of sides is both parallel and congruent. Part B of this theorem is both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Part C of this theorem is that the diagonals bisect each other. And lastly, Part D of this theorem is both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. It is important to remember that a quadrilateral only needs to meet one of these 4 conditions for it to be a parallelogram. Now, how do you remember the 4 parts of this theorem? You can do this with this simple mnemonic device: picky, children, bite, apples. P, picky, stands for parallel. One pair of sides is both parallel and congruent. C, children, stands for congruent. Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. B, bite, stands for bisect. The diagonals bisect each other. And lastly, A, apple, stands for angles. Both pairs of opposite angles are congruent. Now that we understand the sufficient conditions for a parallelogram theorem and its parts, let's apply it to a problem. Is this quadrilateral a parallelogram based on the given information? Yes, it is a parallelogram. The diagonals bisect each other. Now, is this quadrilateral a parallelogram based on its given information? No, it isn't a parallelogram. We know that by the sufficient conditions for a parallelogram theorem, both pairs of opposite sides must be congruent. This one only has one. Now for our last problem. Is this quadrilateral a parallelogram based on the given information? Yes, it is. Both pairs of opposite angles were congruent. Congratulations! Now you know the 4 parts of the sufficient conditions for a parallelogram theorem and how to apply it to any quadrilateral you might think is a parallelogram. All information given in this video can be found in this geometry textbook.